So basically, why do you feel that millennials have, I guess, left the church? Or maybe we don't go to church as much as maybe our parents did.
Several reasons. There's several reasons. There are the cultural reasons. Cultural reasons. First off, many millennials that were raised in church grew up in the faith and adopted the principles and whatnot, and just kind of took them at face value. But later in life, they started to question a few of the things, a few of the interactions and experiences that they had in the faith. They even began to question some of the people that they heard some of these expressions and principles from. And there was this duplicity often between what a person was saying and what a person was doing. And they have not found a way to reconcile that.
That's exactly it.
Many of them, as we were talking earlier, they have not left faith, they left church. Man, I know people who go to church every Sunday, but ain't no pews, ain't no stage, ain't no microphones. They had brunch with mimosas and a community of friends that they pray with, that they talk to, that they challenge each other, they encourage each other, they cry together, they smile together, they celebrate together. And for them, man, that's church.
Yeah.
God is there.
Yeah.
God's in the midst of all that.
Yeah.
Giving them fellowship, giving them community, giving them safe space to show their wounds and their hurts, but also to encourage one another. And man, they even talk scripture. They do.
Yeah.
But ain't no crosses, ain't no pews, ain't no parking lots. It's they drinking mimosas and eating banana Foster pancakes.
So what is the concept of church then? You know what I mean to you?
Well, church then is supposed to create those spaces. That's what church is supposed to be. You got to understand, man. When I love history. History, I think, gives us foundational record of what the original intent was. Man, when Christ came, as Scripture presents Christ, man, Christ didn't do a whole lot of temple hanging. Christ didn't do a whole lot of stuff hanging out with the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Man, Christ would pull up on a mountaintop, on the ledge, right, and start teaching, and jokers would flop, right? Then he'd heal some people. So it's not only this conversation, but there's this real display of authentic power, right? There's not this, not this conjured up light show, rah, rah, rah. No, authentic power. I see a need and I meet it. And man, that, bam, that started everything. So there's this community that formed out of that. He'd go from place to place, he'd heal, he'd minister to. And he'd always create these safe spaces for people that church, temple, religion, and society had kicked to the curb.
Yeah.
He hung out with marginalized folk.
So he was
Lepers.
almost like the outcast organizer.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Dude, lepers, adultery. People call them adultery. Tax collectors, sinners, ladies of the evening.
Ladies of the evening.
Mary Magdalene.
That is
Dude, all I'm saying is he hung out with jokers that nobody else hung out with.
Yeah.
That society didn't want anything to do with, and took that ragtag group and created the church.
Yeah.
Dude, the apostles, the disciples were not, they were not the top tier of Jewish culture. Jewish culture, your first 5 years, you are taught the Torah. By the time you're 5, 6 years old, somewhere like that, you're taught the Torah, and you are consistently trained, because they're trying to find the top tier of that group, of that generation. The top tier of that generation then is taken to rabbinical school, and they follow a rabbi, and they become the next generation of your intellectual, academic, and religious elites.
Wow.
That's where you got your Pharisees, Sadducees, etc. Well, if you were not top tier, then you would go into a trade. You would go and become a fisherman. You would follow a fisherman. You become an apprentice to a carpenter, Jesus. You would become a tax collector. You would become this, that, and the other. But the top tier of Jewish culture of that generation became priests, rabbis. They would learn the scripture and teach the people. Well, when Jesus goes and grabs his 12, he does not grab any rabbis. He grabs fishermen. He went
and got some regular dudes.
He got regular dudes and used them to flip the world upside down.
Wow. So yeah, I mean that kind of touches on what we were saying earlier, just talking about like a lot of people don't really know the practicality maybe of the foundations of the faith. And I think what you speaking to in terms of, because that's what happened to me, is just you see this duplicity. I mean, that's exactly what happened. And I'm in church and I'm like, hold up, you do this on this day and then you do that on that day.
Right.
And you kind of get a distaste for it because, you know, being somebody that wants to be authentic, it's like I can't really act like I'm not sinning, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I do believe, but I don't know how to act fake, you know, so to speak. So in order to not feel like you're, what's the word? You know, hypocritical. That's the word. In order to not feel that feeling, it's just I'ma just stay over there because now I feel like y'all judging me.
Right,
you know what I mean? And I don't want to. So how do you deal with that sense of?
Two problems with that. First of all, for millennials, one of our core values is authenticity and transparency.
That's it.
That is a core value for us, right? Now, authenticity and transparency does not mean perfection. It does not mean I got everything straight and I've never done anything wrong. Authenticity and transparency says, this is who I am, this is where I struggle, and instead of hiding it from you so you can elevate me in your mind and put me on this pedestal, I'm going to share my struggles with you. And as I share my struggles with you, we're going to connect in a more intimate way, because now you realize faith is not some abstract, steeple-based kind of experience, but it is a day-to-day walking journey experience with God that takes my stuff, welcomes me, embraces me, and in the process of that journey transforms me. That's what faith was designed to be. That's what church is supposed to be.
What do you feel like it is now?
It depends. Now, I'm not one of your broad brushed, hasty generalization kind of brothers. Where the church is just terrible. Everybody, throw it all away. Because even with its imperfections, man, it really gave us some of the gains we have in society. Even as you talked about your relationship and you growing up in church and how you walked away from it. But you also said you call your dad on a regular basis and said, man, I appreciate them principles, man, that discipline, right? Like I ain't with all the YPWW, I ain't with the 8 offerings, I ain't with the obeisance to the bishop, I ain't with all of the machinations of the denomination. But there's some principles that are applicable in everyday life, and church gave me those. Right? So I don't throw church away completely, because historically it's really been the only thing we had in America. It began as the centerpiece of the black community. The black church was the centerpiece of the black community, right? And so even with its stuff, nuances and issues, it served us very, very well. Issue is, times have changed and the church is no longer the center of the black community. That's my argument.
That's real though.
Against me, but the black church is no longer the center of the black community.
No, it's not.
It's not.
No.
Because there are more black folk out of church than there are in church.
Yeah.
However, the black church in general still believes it's the center of the black community.
Why do you feel like it's not, and why do you feel like they still believe that it is?
Well, we still believe that it is because for so long it was.